George Orwell's dystopian novel 1984, made in 1949, shows a totalitarian society where surveillance and propaganda are used to control the population. The novel shows constant themes of surveillance as well as propaganda and the manipulation of truth. For example, the quote, "But where did that knowledge exist? Only in his consciousness, which in any case must soon be annihilated. And if all others accepted the lie which the party imposed, if all records told the same tale, then the lie passed into history and became truth." Orwell, page 44, shows how the main character of 1984, Winston, is acknowledging how he is creating propaganda as his job in the Ministry of Truth. Winston's job itself is at the center of the propaganda that the party is creating. He later quotes, "Most of it was a tedious routine, but included in it there were also jobs so difficult and intricate that you could lose yourself in 1984 them as in the depths of a mathematical problem. Delicate pieces of forgery in which you had nothing to guide. You accept your knowledge of the principles of Ingsoc and your estimate what the party wanted you to say." Orwell, page 55 through 56. The theme of propaganda runs parallel with the important theme of surveillance, which the party also incorporates throughout the novel. For example, the quote, "On each landing opposite the lift shaft, the poster with the enormous face gazed from the wall. It was one of those pictures which are so contrived that the eyes follow you about when you move. Big Brother is watching you," the caption beneath it ran. Orwell, page 3, gives the reader a clear picture of how the futuristic setting of 1984 is completely engulfed in surveillance. You had to live from habit that became instinct in the assumption that every sound you made was overheard, and except in darkness, every movement scrutinized. Orwell, page 5. Even in people's own homes, there was an assumption that they were being watched and listened to. In 1984, but propaganda and surveillance helped the party maintain control and promote their interests, as it stood as the primary antagonist throughout this novel. The North Korean government employs extensive surveillance and propaganda to keep its grip on power in very similar ways that the party does in 1984. The U.S. State Department published this quote: "Censorship or content restrictions for members of the press and other media, including online media, the government controls virtually all information within the country. Independent media do not exist. Domestic page 24 journalists had no freedom to investigate stories or report freely. The government tightly controlled print media, broadcast media, book publishing, and online media through the propaganda and agitation department of WPK." As written in an article published by The Express, a online newspaper from the United Kingdom, the state has absolute and systematic control of all forms of telecommunications. It actively spies on its citizens through mass surveillance programs and curtails the information that North Koreans have about their country and the outside world by censoring online media and filtering internet sites that don't comply with the authorities' propaganda. The vast majority of North Koreans have no access to the internet as we know it. The domestic internet, known as the Kawangmayang, only allows access to government-approved websites and mail systems. Quote, "War is peace, freedom is slavery, ignorance is strength," relates to how North Korea tries to control the public perception and their thoughts. North Korea's media is arguably most tightly controlled in the world. According to Reporters Without Borders, citizens can be sent to prison for viewing, reading, or listening to content provided by international media outlets. As written in an article by Amnesty International, the use of surveillance cameras is proliferating, especially in schools and workplaces, and surveying North Korean state media coverage. Cameras appear in most schools, classrooms, and in major cities. Our interview with VIPs and current residents uncovered widespread use of cameras in some workplaces and government buildings. The state still places a heavy reliance on human intelligence networks. These networks can spot more subtle changes in behavior that might signal illicit activities, such as a slight change in the time an individual turns off their lights or an increase in visitors to a house. The future for North Korea is hard to predict. On one end, the country is likely to stay the same because the family of Kim Jong un will keep the dictatorship going. On the other hand, the people of North Korea have been known to be resourceful and take advantage of international efforts to promote human rights. As published by libertyinnorthkorea.org, North Koreans have made many grassroots efforts to break out of the limitations the government holds upon them and strive towards a better future. Thank you for watching.